Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this 30th SAM Best Practice webinar. So my name is Nicolas Rousseau, and we will be spending 1 hour today, like every month, of the SAM Best Practice webinars. We will be spending 1 hour on the management of Microsoft 365 and Adobe. Mark Bradley will join me. He's a little bit late today, so let's kick off the call, and I will mainly cover the two big topics, which are Microsoft 365 subscriptions and Adobe. So thank you everyone for being here, and let's move on. I will share my screen and switch off my camera, and then we'll go smoothly with the various topics. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask. Mark will monitor the questions, and Eve as well, and we'll answer some of them. Hey, Mark, welcome.
Hello. Great. Hopefully you're just getting started. We're all set.
I was just getting started. I was starting and introducing the topic and saying you are coming soon. Here you go. Welcome to the session.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Great to see everyone online here. Nicholas, as always, it's great to have you. You're an amazing presenter. Love the topic for today. Looking forward to digging in.
Yeah, and that's quite a massive one because I will give some context, but Microsoft and Adobe for desktop applications are top 1 and top 2 providers generally in some projects, and managing compliance and optimization for these vendors requires some specific practices and tooling, and that's exactly what Flexera provides. So I will be glad today to cover the two topics and show how it works, spend time on slides, but also show a little bit the UI of Flexera One managing these two topics. So let's move on. I will switch off my camera and start sharing my screen. So be careful. You may have a different tab in your web browser. So that's I'm switching now to sharing my screen. Okay.
Great. And while you're doing that, please use the Q&A box. We'll feed off the questions as the topic is coming in. Put your questions out there, and then we'll inject those as we go, or we'll definitely cover them at the end. And then if we're not able to get to all the questions, we'll respond and either cover them in the next one or send you responses directly.
Okay, all right. Good, perfect. So let's move on. Let's start with the agenda. I will start with providing a little bit of context for Microsoft 365 and Adobe Creative Cloud, which are what we could call hybrid applications. And then I will spend time on a little bit more technical part, which is how we read the data from the SaaS applications in the portal. I will mainly discuss about the way you do that with SaaS Manager, which is the SaaS connector that allows incredible connection to all SaaS applications, and also for on-premise customers, give some hints on how the connection works with the Microsoft and the Adobe portal. And then we will spend time more on the results of this SaaS application information of the Microsoft and Adobe applications. So I will spend time on how SaaS Manager manages and provides information, provides analysis on costs, usage, and also optimization. And then I will show how we switch from the pure SaaS world, which is absolutely relevant to Microsoft 365 and Adobe, because this is all about a portal where you have active subscriptions that you log to. But there is a switch and the shift from SaaS Manager to the ITAM part, which is managing the computers inventory, the applications recognize the usage for the computers, and you will see how the data which is collected turns into inventory data and license compliance data with again another view on optimization, which will go one step further into the management of which server or which computer has the application installed, and I would say a deeper view on this usage and on this application information. That's what we will finish with, which is how the optimization for named user applications. So it does not apply just to cloud, to Adobe Creative Cloud or Microsoft 365. You will see how ITAM allows you to get the view and analysis on user per user with the named user application optimization. So let's move on. Like every month, I'm going to address the questions of the last time, and Mark did a good job last time because every question that was asked, except a typo that was identified by one of the attendees who will recognize himself, the other topics were addressed during the call. So I have no additional, and that's good because we'll focus more time on the core topics. No additional question was unaddressed in the last session. You can find the recording in YouTube, as well as a full playlist of the SAM best practice webinars. So just to show, it's quite simple. You will see in this YouTube Flexera playlist the recordings of the previous sessions, and it goes down to 2021. So you will see many various topics addressed, and if you like what you see here, you may like what has been already covered in the previous session. So have a look to that. Actually, a question which was asked and not addressed completely was about where can you find the PowerPoint? And I must apologize a little bit on that. We have been a little bit long to find the best way. So just to show you where the where the PowerPoint, the PDF version will be, you go to community.flexera.com, and just where you found, I'm going to zoom a little bit, just where you found the announcements. That's probably one way you got the information of this webinar. You will find in the announcements. We'll check, maybe it's done, maybe not yet. So in the announcement, you will get the detailed agenda, what part was covered and when, and you will find the attachment, which will be the presentation I'm going to use today. So one record and one post for each event, each month, will contain both the announcement, and at the bottom of the post will contain the slides and the PowerPoint presentation and the link to the link to the session. So that's something that should happen today, actually, fresh from the press. Okay, so I'm moving back to the session. Let's move on and give some context to this cloud or to this hybrid application. So subscription today is a norm. That's all publishers have moved to this approach for licensing applications. This is no longer a world where you can use Microsoft Project 2010 that honestly was doing a decent job, maybe not less in a collaboration than what we can have now. But all publishers have moved to a perpetual license plus optional maintenance, to a mode where you need to have an active subscription to use the application. There are good reasons, and this slide looks a lot like a slide I delivered on VMware back in June. Good reasons, which are you get more flexibility. Companies can scale up and scale down the number of users which are subscribing, which is good. Second good reason is better quality. People will always use the latest version of the applications. And here now we are talking about desktop applications, which allows to make sure that you have no issue and everything is with the latest features and the best quality, of course. And another good reason, which is a good reason, there is an enforcement of licensing. And this is everything we work on as software asset managers in this call. We keep tracking our compliance or uncompliance, and with the new, it's not so new, but with the subscription model, people, when they use applications, have to log into the Adobe or Microsoft portal for the topic of today. And of course, this is better because there is no surprise with thousands of deployed applications, which could be used representing a legal risk for your organization. So that's a good reason again. But this has an impact, of course. The impact is that it adds more complexity. We will see together, the Microsoft bundles are so complicated, which is in a way a way of delivering a service that you can adapt to your needs. But it adds a lot of smoke, I would say, to what you need really, and you're tempted to take the big and expensive bundle when you are a little bit lost with all the services and applications. So more complexity, and I would say also a higher cost. I remember discussion, it was actually something like 4 years ago, so not very recent, but a big bank I was working with as a Flexera consultant at that time, and they evaluated that the cost of Microsoft move from perpetual plus maintenance licenses to subscriptions to Microsoft 365 was something like a 30% increase in their desktop yearly license cost. Desktop applications for Microsoft yearly license cost. So of course, big impact, and that's an even better reason to manage correctly these applications and focus on the optimization for these applications. So here on the right, you see a slide or a screenshot of one of the blog posts I provided on nrsamconsulting.com. That's a blog post which is showing how you can optimize your subscriptions, and that's a little bit the topic of today, but you can deep dive into this blog post. I will provide the links at the end of the session. And it represents Microsoft 365 and Adobe, and the idea that you can stretch or shrink the cost actually with the right SAM practice and the right process for managing inactive subscriptions. So again, or still in this context setting, the world is becoming hybrid. Subscriptions are managed in cloud portals. This is true for Microsoft 365. This is true for Adobe. Applications are used either on the web browser. This is more, I would say, for Microsoft here, or locally with computers, which is in the, I would say, classical pattern of installing a local application and running it to perform activity. And of course, this combination of cloud from the management of subscription and tracking of certain web applications or SaaS applications and the on-premise activity, which is you need a reliable inventory of your computers to be able to track what Acrobat edition has been deployed and so on. This combination is a challenge that Flexera is very good in managing with the Flexera One application. So the mixed approach adds challenges, and we have the tool for that and the practice. So just maybe the final context setting before I jump into more details. Flexera One has a number of, I would say, modules or management areas, and we will be quite focused today on IT asset management. SaaS Manager being one of the components of IT asset management. So if you're a new customer, there is a specific topic for, I would say, historical customers who had ITAM only or FlexNet Manager Cloud. But any ITAM customer today has a mix of the on-premise management module, which was historically named FlexNet Manager, So you will see all this part, which is about managing contract, purchase, inventory of computers, recognition of applications, and compliance. And the SaaS management part, which is offering connection to tens of SaaS applications, and I would say unlimited, because there is now an ingestion utility which allows to connect to any source, provided you have the SaaS APIs, the REST APIs. So you can, everything we'll discuss today is focused on this area. And of course, Flexera also provides with IT visibility, I would say the bigger picture or the focused picture on the application management and on the management of management of I don't find the word, but being sure that you are managing. Sorry?
It addresses the risk. So things like open source, hardware specs, vulnerability, lifecycle.
Yeah, lifecycle. That's what I was looking for. Sorry for that.
Cool.
So you get, I would say, a deeper picture on your IT estates. And the cloud migration and cloud cost optimization, of course, will be focused on managing your cloud subscriptions and optimizing them. Okay, so and of course you have some transversal components which are on the reporting side, and I'm sure you have a lot to say. Maybe Mark, you want to deep dive a little bit on the reporting in what is coming soon.
Yeah, we're no, it's a good point. So we are working on some converged use cases whereby cloud licensing, and as you're in the cloud and making a choice whether to bring your own or pay as you go, to be able to provide some analysis in that to make recommendations where it might make sense to bring your own or purchase the license as opposed to, continue to pay as you go. So we have some exciting work happening there. It's called Cloud License Management, and it's part of the new platform. But yeah, we can have a session on that if there's some interest to learn more.
Okay, thank you. And another, I would say, transversal tool or capability is the policy engine, where you can automate based on REST API calls and policies you set up based on the data you manage in Flexera One to automate the some actions, some deployments, some scripts, or some emails, more simply. And this also works with IT asset management or IT visibility, definitely. Okay, and of course, underlying all of this, the normalization that Technopedia is providing, so that is used by IT visibility and IT asset management. Okay, so let's move on. That was a little bit of context on the architecture, but today we are really focusing on IT asset management. So first step, if you want to manage your subscriptions, if you want to manage your usage on Microsoft 365 and Adobe, you need to read the data from the portals. And subtitle is, always changing subscription information requires real-time update. That's one of the challenges. I would say legacy software asset management was about managing once a year the new contracts, let's say enterprise agreements renewal or new purchase, which was a little bit more frequent. Here we have up and downs in the number of entitlements you have, in the bundles you are subscribing to, and of course you need to catch the data. So the preferred approach, and today I will be a little bit insistent on the because again, among people attending this session, you have some on-premise FlexNet Manager customers who don't have a SaaS Manager today. You have migrating customers who came from the FlexNet Manager Cloud, and you have ITAM customers who have a mix of on-premise and SaaS Manager capabilities. And definitely, the way the data is collected for SaaS applications. And here we are a little bit at the frontier between on-premise and SaaS, but the way data is collected for Microsoft, for Adobe, and even for Salesforce, which is a no-brainer, it is better with SaaS Manager, which is a tool specialized in connecting to these tools and collecting the data regarding subscriptions, regarding all the last year logon dates and so on. So that's a screenshot of the connection module of SaaS Manager, where you can catch and define which is your tenant, define which application you want to connect to, and then the password. There are multiple ways you can connect to the Microsoft 365 portal. I would say best is to go to the SaaS Manager documentation that will give you the password, or that there are multiple way you can connect, and this is all described in the documentation. So you will get also in the documentation what are the collected objects. Maybe best would be to open the documentation. And you will see it is quite extensive. I'm going to go on the top. So you will see what is stored as information, what are the permissions you need on the Microsoft 365 application, the authentication method. So spend some time. This is not exactly the goal of this call, to have a deep dive into the technicalities of connecting to Microsoft 365, but I would say any single customer is today collecting this information. So that works fine. This is just a matter of using the right credentials. That can be a little bit of a complexity. I've seen also issues with multiple tenants collecting the data, but there are ways you can go to a multi-tenant Microsoft 365 application and collect across tenants some information. So that's the first step. You connect SaaS Manager with the portal, and then you get the information, which is about reclaiming when people have no connection, understanding what are the email address of the user. So one big thing for both ITAM, or one big thing is to make sure that your HR roster or your Active Directory data has the email addresses for the users, because it's how the data will be linked between the portal and what you have in Flexera One. And once you have this key, which is used, once you have the connection, you get all the data that we will see later. Then, you can select licenses, and you will have a mechanism to get information on the licenses for the, I would say, more on-premise world. You see here a screen of licenses in ITAM, and licenses will manage the purchase, which actually are inherited from the SaaS Manager information, but also the consumption, which are computed with all the details on the mix between computers and web application access. So that's how you make sure that there is a synchronization between the SaaS application information and the on-prem view of your license consumption that does the job of showing you more details on the deployed application and used applications. Still about the data collection. SaaS Manager has enhanced, it was last year, same period in summer, the way the Adobe single app subscriptions are collected. Single app is actually quite a nightmare. That's single app with Adobe is any of the Adobe Creative Cloud applications. And that's quite tricky to manage, because in the end, you may have subscriptions for Illustrator. You may have CC, let's say. You may have subscriptions for Creative Cloud All Apps, which give you the right to use any of the application, or all of the applications, sorry. And you may have other subscriptions which give you right to use any of the application, and you may choose to use Illustrator or Acrobat or whatever. And there is a little link in this presentation that gives you the details. It's quite a short article I wrote actually in 2022, but the details on how you can manage the consumption for creative applications, for single apps, and the purchase. So basically, you will have one line for creative for a single app, one line that will contain all the purchase, and you will have a number of other licenses, which will take the data that SaaS Manager is correctly catching. SaaS Manager will tell you you have 10 subscriptions for single app dash Illustrator for these users. And you will have basically a license which is reflecting the total entitlements, a number of licenses that will compute the usage or the installation, the usage, and the possible optimization. And you will need to have this sort of aggregated view for single app, because there is no way to configure a license to say consume one, but if you have two applications installed, consume two, and so on and so on. So that's a little pointer that could be useful for you. And by reading the data, SaaS Manager, by reading the data and splitting between single app Illustrator and standalone Illustrator, allows to avoid mixing the position you get, because of course you should not mix together some Illustrator subscriptions for the standalone product with the illustration subscription that come from single app. Otherwise, your view on compliance will be completely messed up. So that's a specific item for Adobe. I will not open, very often, in this session, I'm hands-on, and I will demo definitely data for what you get, which is the next session. But I will not open a beacon for on-premise customer, or for customers who just have the ITAM without SaaS Manager. But if you open a beacon UI, beacon being the inventory servers, which are able to connect to various sources of information and bring the information back to ITAM or Flexera Manager, you can, in a beacon, create a new inventory connection. One of the options is PowerShell. You pick up PowerShell, you pick up Microsoft 365, and then you choose as well how you want to authenticate, which sometimes is a topic. So token is an option that some customers don't love, because they need to refresh the token every let's say 30 days. So you may use client credentials to connect to the Microsoft 365 portal, and then you will have a sort of stable connection that will give you information. The data you get from the beacon for Microsoft 365 is, I would say, good in terms of what are the active subscriptions. You get the list of users with the level of subscriptions. Is it E3, is it E5, and so on. It's quite good on a number of usage for some applications, but I would say SaaS Manager has better information when it comes to Visio Online or Visio or Project Online usage. Better information for metrics which are not even monitored by or collected by the I would say, legacy Microsoft 365 connection, such as the mailbox size, which SaaS Manager collects, or the quantity of data in OneDrive. So definitely keep in mind the beacon or the sort of legacy way to connect Microsoft data does a job, but misses some of the subtleties that SaaS Manager address, and that's really where Flexera is investing, and no more with Flexera. Flexera is investing in enhancing the SaaS application data collection, but definitely not combining work on the beacon side, beacon connection, and work on SaaS Manager. SaaS Manager is definitely taking the new and the enhancements, the new features and enhancements. Still, from the beacon, you can collect data from a multi-tenant application. So again, there is a doc link here, but that can be a pain for large organizations which have many Microsoft tenants. You don't need as many connectors as tenants. You can use the multi-tenant ITAM app connection to collect data from multiple tenants. Basically, you query the master tenant and not the children. Hopefully, this makes sense. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, I will not spend too much time. Actually, these are slides. This slide is from a presentation I provided a while ago. I wanted to deep dive a little bit into what data gets collected. And if you are a cloud customer and activate the replication on the beacon, or if you're an on-premise customer with also replication activated, you can see which files are generated. And it's helpful to understand what are the details collected to get a better trust into the Microsoft 365 data. So I just provided one or two screenshots. You see here, you have some UUIDs for the users, UUIDs for the application. So the data is quite cryptic, I would say, and very important, you need to make sure that in your Microsoft portal settings, you don't check on obfuscation. Otherwise, the data that will be generated will miss some of the keys that we're using, that Flexera is using to create and link the users to the subscriptions, for instance, or the applications. So be very sure that no obfuscation feature is checked. So it's display concealed user group and site name in all reports, means don't obfuscate. Okay, so I'm moving on. I will skip this one. Do you hear me okay?
So far, everything's going well. The questions have been just asking us for access to the presentation.
Okay.
So for those that have questions, please put them in the chat, the Q&A section.
Yeah, we'll move to a more, I would say, licensing and optimization part. So maybe it will create more more wish for interaction. So let's move on. And here, I will skip this one, but you get files which create licenses, which will be subscriptions. So basically, you get all the data that will be ingested into ITAM or into SaaS Manager, and it will automatically create licenses, users, allocations. Actually, it would not create users. If you have the good email address on both sides, it will sort of match the Microsoft users with the existing Active Directory users. And then the allocations will happen that will show which user has which active subscription. Okay. Adobe, a little zoom on Adobe. Everything I was talking about for data collection was for Microsoft 365. Again, SaaS Manager is the way of connecting to the Adobe portal and collecting data. If you are on-premise, there is a knowledge base article I wrote a while ago again, but which is still valid. It's maybe another way of generating the token for Adobe. So this article shows how you can collect data in two ways. One way, which is my preferred way, I would say, is to connect to the Active Directory and catch the groups which are untitled for the Adobe applications. So that's an option when you have an Adobe active contract, ETLA. You can connect your Adobe portal with your Azure Active Directory. And then, super simple, people in the IT organization manage the users in their user groups, and automatically Adobe gives the entitlements and the right to use the application based on the information it's automatically collecting from Active Directory. So I provide in this article, how you can filter on a group, for instance, with the Business Adapter Studio. This is the Business Adapter Studio. Actually, this is a scheduled import in the beacon. But in the beacon detail, you see this is the Business Adapter UI, where you can connect to an Active Directory and run the little beautiful LDAP queries, which will collect the right type of data. Another way is to use a PowerShell, which may have the challenge I was describing about a new way of generating the token. But that's documented by Adobe. I would say it's more an Adobe topic. And you can actually, with this PowerShell, connect to the Adobe portal to get I'm just downloading to show you. You can collect the list of active subscriptions by product. So this is not very exciting, but you have a little bit of context. And then you have the script, which is catching the data, and the PowerShell actually, the PowerShell is embedded in the document. Just to give you how it works. The PowerShell is basically querying the Adobe portal. There is a report which is called, I think it's user licenses or something like that. And the report provides a flat list. So if a user has both, let's say, Illustrator standalone and Acrobat standalone, you will get 2 rows in the report, which is, of course, making the re-import into ITAM with allocation, so into Flexera Manager, easier. Because you don't have to split the data in the column, which would give which are the subscriptions which are subscribed. So just a little pointer on this one, there is no out-of-the-box integration from the beacon, so use Edit. Another approach, which is actually probably news to many of you and which I strongly encourage, is to use 2 features. I was so glad to implement as a product manager. One, which is the intelligent license allocation. Basically, the idea that you can, maybe I will zoom a little bit to, let's go. The screenshot is maybe not very, very big. Okay, so you see better the screenshot, hopefully. So the idea that you can allocate or restrict or exempt. This is called the intelligent allocation, exemption, and restriction based on the report. And the report that's here, in this license, which is an end user license. I was lazy and did not recreate a screenshot with Acrobat users. That's exactly what would happen. Acrobat DC users. So here, this user group that you see in the use rights and rules of the license is a report. And the report can actually use a new reporting object, which was introduced back in, I think it was in September of last year. This reporting object is called AD groups. So you can create a report that shows all the users, starting object is users, which belong to, and then you take the link to the AD groups. And then, of course, you need to filter the AD group based on the group name, which very often will be very explicit. And again, that's if you have the integration with Active Directory, between Adobe and Active Directory. Why would you query directly the Active Directory or the portal if you have locally in ITAM all the groups? The level 1 groups of users are stored. That's an important thing that few people know. So you can create a report, and this report will automatically be allocated every license reconcile. So this is the interest with these intelligent things is that the target is, I would say, a live target, dynamic target. So if 3 users got added in the day, the next reconciliation will add these users to the license. So hopefully, I was not too long on that, but this is mixing 2 very interesting things. and you can use this AD group object for many other things. I was showing Toad here, for instance. So that's a nice way you can create licenses in ITAM without a true installed application, but just trusting the AD management groups, just like we do in a way with the Citrix integration, trusting the AD groups to reflect a license consumption in the tool. Hopefully it makes sense.
Perfect timing. This slide generated 2 questions for us, maybe more. We'll see if the questions start rolling in. Apart from Microsoft 365 and Adobe, which other vendor products are supported?
By the Beacon integration?
I will believe that you were doing the intelligent license allocation.
Oh, okay. So intelligent license allocation is that's a feature which supports any. So basically, intelligent license allocation is, I would say, a foundation feature of FlexNet Manager. It's also available on-prem or ITAM, which says you can describe a target of allocated users, not by business adapter you would run every day doing allocation, or not by doing manual allocations every day. You can allocate any group of users to a license based on a report. Here, what you see here is a report, actually. So this is not about what vendor is supported. This is about what are the vendors that your IT team is managing as assignment groups in Active Directory. And the group definition can be quite complex in AD because it's an end-to-end. You have 100,000 users, which can be linked to 10,000 Active Directory groups. But a type of group in Active Directory is for the application assignments. So any vendor you manage, I've seen Cbel, I've seen many named user application, which we normally are not very comfortable for managing because it means we would need a connector for each of the on-premise applications like Cbel, or if that's a SaaS application, of course, SaaS Manager will get the data. But if you if you manage who can access what application in AD groups, this is unlimited. So this is not about vendors. This is about IT processes for giving rights for users of accessing applications. Hopefully.
Got it. And then just a quick follow-up question. Looks like which portals do you connect to?
So not sure which question. So SaaS Manager connects to tens of portals. To ServiceNow, to Salesforce, to Adobe, to Microsoft. So that's the job in life of SaaS Manager, connecting to SaaS portals. The Flexera Beacon. So I'm talking more about the on-premise or legacy. Today, the only 2 connections we have, or the only one, we have a connection to Microsoft 365. There was a connection to Salesforce, but it was not collecting enough data, such as activated features, which are very important. So I would say, except running or building connectors, which is feasible. I built this one with the help of a customer, actually. So building connectors that will query a REST API and build a flat list of users with level of access and users for active subscriptions. You don't have in the out-of-the-box Beacon connections of Flexera more portal connection than the Microsoft 365. The focus of the Beacon connections is more on the inventory side. So you can connect to SCCM, Intune, many Landesk, many out-of-the-box connections. But on the user side, a little bit because this is not the focus of ITAM of FlexNet Manager to manage SaaS users. There is no other SaaS cloud connection or cloud portal connection than the Microsoft 365.
Okay. Great. There's another comment question, but you tell me if you want to take that now or if you want to continue, given that we're getting close to the top of the hour.
Is it a long one or?
It basically, let me look here at the beginning. When we're talking about license allocation and exemption, it's fine to work based on the reports with user, and then it points to AD group object, but it would be very useful to expand to device AD group report. And then by doing so, exclude some
I need to
devices.
recognize who asked the question, because I remember as a product manager, I got the question. I said, yeah, that would be good. Okay. So yes, that would be a nice extension. So very pragmatically, the user AD groups were stored forever in ITAM or in Flexera Manager. So exposing this object was an easy step. I did that. I created the code for doing that. Exposing the device AD groups is more complex, because it means we need to extend the AD imports to also include device groups. Unless contact me if you know that the data is in the database, because exposing yet another reporting object is a matter of 3 hours of work when you know how to do, which is my case. If the data is not here, it means we need to create a new table, which is called today there is we need to create a new table which and expand the way we read the data. So this becomes a quite heavy feature. If by experience in these groups you see or that the data is also managed for device groups and also stored somewhere, that's interesting to share, maybe offline, and we can deep dive into that, because exposing more data in the reporting is not a big deal. It's a very Flexera One is quite powerful in the way you can expand the reporting. Okay.
Thank you. So, that's it. That's all the questions for a moment.
Okay, I move on and apologize. I've not spent a lot of time on the UI, so let's go. But you will see that everything I'm going to show is also explained in the tool. And maybe to be faster, I will come back to the PowerPoint if I see that I'm spending too much time. So let's move on to Flexera One. Which one should I open? Okay, so I will app.flexera.com. And I wanted to start with what you see with SaaS Manager, which I would say is the closest to the subscription information and cloud usage information. So if you go to SaaS and go to, let's say, all SaaS licenses, you will get the big picture of all the licenses managed with your upcoming renewals. And you see here, Salesforce, many cloud applications are managed with the out-of-the-box connectors. You can extend, but Microsoft 365 is here. And here you get the big picture, which is how many active subscriptions you have, what is your cost, when you got the last import, I guess, or when you created, when the contract will finish, sorry. And you get the big picture of your plans. And if you zoom on the application, you get a focused view, which will show you the active account. So here, everything is about last login on the application. So who are the active users? Who are the inactive users? What is the people who never got active? So this guy would be interesting to unlicense or to stop subscriptions. You get a view, which is the overview. You get the licenses, which is a slightly different approach than ITAM in terms of naming convention. So an application is linked to licenses, and then you get a view on the integration, not very exciting, but also the list of users from the last import, of course. And here you see some interesting data. If you get the horizontal lift, you see the interesting data, which is which goes way beyond what you get with the beacon for the Flexera Manager on-prem, for instance. So you get the mail usage, the OneDrive usage, and typically with mail usage, you can optimize between A1 and A3. I'm not a big expert in all the plans, but that's an important topic. The size of the mailbox or the OneDrive usage is also a sign that people may not be taking advantage of the right they get on OneDrive by having an active subscription. So just checking, on my slides. One thing I did not show, but the import, which the license details that you see here, gives you a number of items allowed. So this entitlement is actually read from the portal and updated. So you get basically two views, one which is a higher level view, what is the license, how many entitlements, and then you get the details on how many people have an active subscription to which application and which license. So that I will not show that, but that's in the detail of a license. You recognize what I was showing about application summary and also trend. That's very interesting to understand the trends. And here the demo database is a little bit flat because it's not very live. You get also a view on the application usage. So maybe I will directly go there. Application usage. So if I go to SaaS and SaaS license usage. SaaS license usage, and here you see the big picture across publishers. But of course, you can view the details and get more details on Microsoft 365, and you will get plan by plan or product by product the number of subscriptions, the number of active users, the number of, you get all the data that you see here. So I'm not going very deep, but basically you get fresh data, who uses what, who got usage. So this expands immediately to optimization and reclamation. And you get even metrics on a specific usage dimension that would not be managed in the portal. Okay, so I'm moving on the slides just to keep the pace. Okay. So you get the data and the activity that you see. Last activity is about the last login to the application, to the cloud portal for the application. You get specific usage. I will move on. Adobe is the same. You get the list of users. You get the list of purchase that the portal will give you, and you get by license and by product, knowing that complexity and devil is in the details. Creative All Apps actually covers something like 13 products, while Acrobat Pro DC is a single standalone product, but single app, Lightroom, is a single app with a specific instantiation for Lightroom. So this is a little bit where the complexity is and what we are going to manage on the other side with the list of computers and understanding the inventories. So the data from SaaS Manager is then transferred to ITAM. And here, that's not a very complicated flow. You get connection to the portals. SaaS Manager will have the user roster, license entitlement, SaaS usage, activity, and user subscription and online usage will be actually transferred to ITAM, to the, I would say, on-premise part of ITAM, where you will see on the computers of the user, let's say, a Visio online usage, because SaaS Manager was able to say this guy got a usage, and then you will get a single view per user across computers of the on-prem and cloud usage of the applications, because this is where it's an hybrid world. And you get, this 360-degree view with users, usage, and licenses. What else? The SaaS Manager. So I will skip that, but you can see actually how the data gets imported. And an interesting thing is that there is a SKU, which is sort of passed by SaaS Manager to the reader of license details. So, and with the SKU, now you have the SKU browser even to check the SKUs. You can, the license will be created in ITAM, including the bundles. That's one of the complicated topics, the bundle that you will get with the subscription you got. And the bundles will be used in the license consumption analysis because somebody with a Creative Cloud all apps, that's the next slide. I'm moving on. So before I talk about the SKU browser, you see here, that's a user. He has a mix of cloud usage and on-prem usage. And that's something that is called the access mode. When you have a user detail, that's a license, that's a report you can run from, maybe I will demo, that's faster. So let's go to ITAM. And I will go to all licenses. Okay. And in the licenses, I will filter on Microsoft. And let's check E5. Okay. So here I've E5 plan. The license got created by SaaS Manager. So if I go to the consumption, you see a view license is SaaS Manager. So from SaaS Manager, you can jump to ITAM, to the on-premise part. From this part, you can jump back to the license in SaaS Manager. And in the consumption, okay, you have a report that you can run, because here you just see who has access to what computer. But with this report, you can actually understand the details of who has a Microsoft 365 consumption and why. So I'm not sure the group by was a good idea, but once you group by user, this guy is actually consuming for this subscription based on two applications, one which is Skype for Business and the other which is 365 apps. And you see here, you know, so I will not spend too much time on it, but the access mode that you have will show you where the application is coming from. So a cloud access to, let's say, Skype for Business, which is coming from SaaS Manager, will be captured as an application for any of the device of the user as a remote or Microsoft 365 access. If I close that again, this is an access type. And all the rest, which is called local, is actually good through old apps which have been installed on the computer, and the Flexera agent or SCCM has captured, and that has been recognized by the library. So keep in mind that the 365 degree view we have comes from the fact that we combine data coming from the two sources, and the access mode is the key to understand what is really the cause of the consumption. And moving on, the SKU browser will provide you with the details. So here, you know, that's a new feature. I'm sure you know it, but maybe not. It was introduced in Flexera Manager 2014 R1, which got released in July. So that's brand new. Navigation is slightly different, but in the procurement, you have a new menu, which is called SKU browser. And for cloud customer, this is the way you access it. And here, you know, you will always get 100 records. So the idea is that we don't pass a full SKU library to anyone, but you get a list, and of course, you need to filter. And filtering, for instance, on E3, for instance, you can, and that's new from this month, actually, just for cloud. It will come on-prem in the next release, probably in November or December. You can now open the link details and understand what the SKU or what the bundle gives access to. So I'm opening now this E3 FLX. FLX is a prefix you will find in the SKUs which have been created by Flexera and which are used, for instance, for the communication between the SaaS Manager and the ITAM part. But you see here, the applications which you see related to E3 are displayed in this detail of the SKU. Okay, it takes a little bit of time. And here, that's the next slide of my presentation. That's one of the complexity. People say, yeah, I have a tool that manages my E3 subscription. You see here a list of applications. So you just feel, okay, nice. I will know bits and bytes of each of these components. That the truth is that these bundles are extremely complex. I found this site, which seems to be created by a Microsoft engineer. So maybe it's a Microsoft site. Extremely interesting. You see all the bundles, all the combinations and so on. And the SKU bundles may have 15 products. I think that's what we were seeing, something like 20 products. But some of them are services, not collected by the agent because they're not true installed applications or even SaaS Manager. So we create fake applications which sometimes don't relate to anything. So I'm going back here. You know, this Azure Information Protection, if I open it, trust me, no such usage has been found anywhere. So we have, and that's a challenge. I worked a lot with the content library when I was managing that part. You have basically, you need to describe what the bundle is, but there is no true application either collected by SaaS Manager or by any information available on the Microsoft portal. So keep in mind, you need to focus on the big fishes, on the big fish. Basically, you know, on if you have E3, are you using Office Online only or Office? Now it's the 16 enterprise application. Are you using it? If you don't use the on-prem application, you'd better use the E1 unless there is a service in E3 that you need to subscribe to. So that's where, you know, I'm moving now to license consumption. The consumption licenses will be created by SaaS Manager. The consumption will be depending on the allocations. So if you have 500 users, they will be allocated with a permanent allocation, so it will consume 500. But the usage that you can see in the report I was showing will actually reflect the true discoverable applications which have been found for the user. So the gap you see between here and here shows that some users have none of the applications that can be recognized, installed, or used. And that's where you can have an optimization opportunity. So, which leads to the next topic. I will not spend time, but we already saw that SaaS Manager is providing a view on optimization with the activity, with the trend on the activities or the mailbox size, for instance. The report called the end user license consumption. That's probably the report that asked me the most SQL skills when I created all these reports for Flexera, all the reports that you find in the dashboard in the hubs. So this report that you can find and which is the source actually of the SAM optimization hub. Hopefully you know the hubs and you know how to use them, but behind this hub there are some reports. And for instance, this one, save by taking action, if we click on Adobe, it will actually lead to the page which contains the full report. And if you run this report, believe me, you will spend hours seeing data that you cannot see unless you are doing 50 pivot tables everywhere. So if we go, let's say with the E5, for instance, we see that we have 1,600 users with E5. I'm maybe going to zoom a little bit. Okay, so you have a number of users, but in the many columns of this report, you see, the last inventory for the computer, which could be a sign that usage is reliable or not. And you will see what are the active subscriptions for the user, not very interesting, But then you will see what are the installations which are consuming for the user. So you may have one or a large number. I'm going to go down just to show. And the report will analyze user per user. If I go on the right, maybe I will say is not empty. You will see here that each user having an active subscription of E5, for instance, you will know which are the products which are consuming. So this is the on-prem one. You will see if there are some usage for these products. So first you need to check the usage, and the report will compute some optimization. So you have a priority 1 and priority 2 optimization. So basically, priority 1 is based on the installed product. Yeah, you have a subscription, you install this, that's a new name actually for Office, 365, 16 apps, good. So no comment, but here, stop the subscription after checking accuracy of usage if you have, because we have no trace of usage today. So the very big prerequisite is to check if usage is reliable. But be aware that this report is providing recommendations based on usage, but also for the bundles. It will also provide recommendation if it sees that you have a cheaper bundle which exists, that your active installed applications are matching. So typically, it will recommend downgrade from E3 to E5. It will recommend things that about Adobe, for instance, from all apps to standalone with a threshold of 3 applications. All these things that I'm sure you have done a lot if you are doing management of the applications and tracking of the usage. This report is doing all this analysis, and then is doing an analysis of the cost and the potential saving if you were applying the recommended subscriptions, the recommended removal of applications. So that's a little bit short. There is a full session on this report in the history of the best practice webinars. Have a look to that, and that can be interesting for you. Okay, so I'm moving on.
Yeah, looks like we're at a little bit past the top of the hour.
Yeah. That's finished. That was the last slide.
Okay, sure.
So just on the news and reference, so new features that got released in August. So an announcement of the report, which is the application installation details, and a technical feature on the agent. So I would say in August we don't have anything very big, but in the July release we got this product user right view for the software SKUs. So the SKU browser is providing more information, and there is a new API, REST API, that allows to allocate users or device or deallocate. So these are the recent announcements in the product side. And of course, you can access the SAM Best Practice Hub, which contains a lot of information about best practices that I'm sharing here, and the NRSAM consulting blog, where you will get frequent posts. And there are 19 posts which are giving you bits and bytes on how to be successful in SAM, starting from the bottom, which is having a good inventory, and going to the top side, which is having the correct licensing and the optimization and the correct license configurations. So have a look to this blog. You will see a lot, and the link is in the presentation. Thank you very much, and thanks for your attention, and sorry for being a little bit long today.
Oh, no worries. Another awesome presentation. Thank you, Nicholas, for sharing this, and then all the good questions. We had a few left, but looks like we'll have something to come back to in our next session.
Okay.
But
yeah,
awesome
I will
job.
address them
Great
at
interaction.
the beginning of the next session. And sorry for being too long today. Thank you.
No worries. No worries.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.